So good morning, grade 11 students. In this session, we're going to talk about genetics revision for the semester 3 for the week 32. We're going to talk about genetics. We're going to talk about the chromosomes at metaphase. The chromosomes at metaphase, they are made up of two sister chromatids. The substance that make up the chromosomes سميناها, it's called the chromatin. Chromatin is divided into two portions or two parts, either DNA or the proteins. DNA is composed of three nucleotides or four nucleotides, A, T, C, and G. However, the proteins, they are composed of histones and non-histones. So here, DNA كينا عنه. DNA by the process of transcription. So حيصير. By the process of transcription, DNA is going to be converted into mRNA, messenger RNA. However, through the process of translation, RNA is going to be changed into polypeptide that will give protein or amino acid through the process of translation. You know about the transcription and translation, and we're going to talk about them again. Gene, شو هي الجين? Gene, we said it's a fragment, it's a portion, it's a piece of DNA that codes for a specific trait. هذه trait هي polypeptide. Alleles, they are different version of the same gene. For example, blood group gene, كم allele عنده؟ عندي ثلاثة. عندي allele A, allele B, and allele O. هدول alleles هن الموديلات of this gene. So الموديل تبعون الجين is called allele. For the meaning of homozygous, already حكينا كمان. For the meaning of homozygous, it's an individual having two identical alleles. What does this mean? يعني two identical alleles. يعني they have two similar alleles. They have two alleles that are identical. They are the same. This person is said to be homozygous or is said to be pure. مثل for example blood group A. blood group A لتكون انت blood group A شو ممكن يكون عندك alleles؟ ممكن يكون عندك allele AA or واحد dominant وواحد recessive. It can be A and O. بس هو عم بيقل pure. So it's 100% AA. And I'm ممكن بالاكسرسايز I'm going to ask you individual having blood group A which is pure. So قلت لك انا which is pure يعني قلت لك انا هو 100% AA. يعني مستحيل يكون AO لانه AO هي hybrid or the heterozygous. However, heterozygous or the hybrid will be individual having two different alleles of the same gene. For example, blood group A هو heterozygous. مستحيل يكون AA. إذا قال لي heterozygous إجباري يكون A and O. Okay? So هدول notes you have to keep them in mind. حكينا about dominant allele, حكينا about recessive allele. Dominant allele إنه هو the strong allele. The allele that can be expressed if we have two strong or we have one strong and one weak. This is called the dominant allele. It can be expressed in both homozygous اللي هي قلنا عنها it's the pure or the heterozygous اللي قلنا عنها the hybrid. However, recessive allele لحتى يقدر يبين in order to be expressed, it cannot be expressed unless in the case of homozygous. What the meaning of homozygous يعني عنده two identical alleles يعني عنده two recessive alleles يعني both of them should be recessive and should be homozygous لحتى يبين. So two recessive alleles. So these notes, they are very, very, very important in order to solve the exercise, in order to analyze the exercise, and plus in order to solve any pedigree or any exercise related to genetics. So هدول هن very important notes. So هون إذا بنحكي brown وبلو for example. هون ثابت ماخذين نفس الأحرف بس أنت usually you have to stay away from this. يعني حاول قد ما فينا ما ناخذ نفس اللتر، ناخده مره كابيتال ومره سمول كرمال ما انت ما تضيع. سو هم ماخذين البراون هي البي كابيتال والبلو هي البي سمول. سو هون بي سمول هي ريسيسيف لحتى تبين it should be expressed only in the case of homozygous. So اجباري تكون بي سمول بي سمول. بس كان بي كابيتال بي سمول والبي كابيتال هي dominant هيكون عندي اياه براون. So you have to be careful about this. Here about the case of codominance. Codominance شو يعني؟ Codominance بيكونوا both alleles they are dominant and the parents they are pure. في حدا please raising your hands. Can you tell me what are the three different types of crosses that we covered them before? شنو three different types of crosses. Yes. What are the three different types of crosses اللي حكينا عنهم before? Yes, Ran.
Self-cross.
For self cross, what is the self cross? Before you continue.
When the same species يعني same species make a cross with each other.
Yeah, for example, whenever we cross F1 with F1, this is
مثلا F1 with
self
F1 هيك.
cross. Very good, thank you. Who can give me another type of the self cross of the crosses? Ran and Italy, the self cross, but the other types. Yes, you will.
Test cross.
Test cross. What is the aim of the test cross? ليش بنعمل test cross? Yes. Why do we do the test cross? شو الجول بالتست cross? Joel is go. Yeah, Joel, you can speak. Unmute yourself and you can speak.
تسمعني؟
Now I hear you. Yeah. Yes. Yes, I can hear you now. فيك تحكي جوال. Let's move to Cynthia and then we can go back to Joel. Yes, Cynthia.
Should I explain what the test cross does?
Yes. Why do we do the test cross?
When we cross homozygous and recessive, the type of the cross is test cross.
Okay, so we do it to do what? شو الجول تبعولا? What is the aim or the goal of the test cross? Yes.
Sure. What do you mean by what's the aim of the test cross?
Why do I do the test cross? I mean, why do we do test cross? Why do we do the test cross? What is the role of the test cross? Yes, Hani, what do you think?
أستاذ عشان نشوف إذا حدا من البيرنتس homozygous أو heterozygous.
أي حدا من البيرنتس يعني. First of all, we cross it with homozygous recessive, صح؟
ونشوف
homozygous
التاني
recessive.
إذا
نشوف الdominant parent if it's homozygous or heterozygous. يعني the goal, yes. So the goal, Cynthia, for the test cross is to determine whether the dominant individual is homozygous or heterozygous. حتى نشوف إذا هو pure or hybrid. So this is the aim of the test cross. Third type of the cross, Lean, can you tell me what is the third type of cross?
Monohybrid cross.
What is the monohybrid cross? When the parent they are
differ in one trait.
And they are pure.
Yes.
Okay? Homozygous or they are pure. So the parents are pure and they differ in only one trait. So this is the case of monohybrid cross. So on codominant, codominant, what the meaning of codominant? Already we said that codominance, it's the cooperation between two alleles. Here, both alleles should be dominant. So on the red, is عطيت red R capital. So هون إجباري لازم يكون R R. والبلو أعطيته B capital إجباري يكون B B. كيف عرفت أنا case of codominance؟ أنا إذا بتطلع هون بالindividuals طلع عندي إياه blue striated with red يعني أحمر وأزرق مع بعض. So both colors they are expressed. So this is the case of codominance. شو بيعطيني ال RR؟ بيعطيني 1 gamete R 100%. شو بيعطيني ال BB؟ 1 gamete B. So B 100%. So here the genotype of this individual should be RB. So this is the genotype. Here is the blue striated with red or blue and red together. Phenotype, شو يعني phenotype? It's the sum of traits of an individual. Genotype is the alleles. So هيدول مش لازم نضيع فيهم. دايما genotype will give and will code for the phenotype. شو يعني true breeding? In a true breeding line, whenever the individuals they have the same phenotype as the parents, homogametic or heterogametic, homogametic individual that gives only one type of gametes, however heterogametic individual that gives more than one type of gamete. حكينا by dominant and by recessive and حكينا about Hollandric gene. هيدول حنحكي عنهم in details whenever we move to grade 12 genetics. We determined that the nucleus is the carrier of the genetic information and also حكينا about dominant and recessive, حكينا about codominance, and also we have to move to the transmission of the alleles. Here, start step by step. Whenever I gave you any question related to genetics, you have to start from the parents, either if it's a cross or a pedigree. So cross or pedigree, my goal or my priority is to start with the parents. Parents, gray female mouse crossed with white male mouse. All the descendants, they are gray. If I ask you, what can you deduce from this cross? Here we cross the parents, gray female with a white male. So here in the F1 generation, in the first generation, all of them, they are gray. What can you deduce from this cross? Yes, Muhammad Hassan, what do you think?
Says الوايت mouse heterozygous.
لا first before you start يا محمد, before you start, so before you start, you have to say what can you deduce from this cross. What can you deduce from this cross?
بدي أقول شو.
Yes, so you have to say after crossing.
After crossing gray mouse with white mouse.
Yes.
Generation generation F1.
We get in the F1 individuals. شو طلع معي بالF1?
Hybrid gray mouse.
We get all of them. They are hybrid.
Hybrid gray mouse.
Like one.
Yes.
Like one of what?
Like one of the parents.
So مين الdominant مين recessive?
The gray is dominant.
So the gray allele is dominant. So محمد نحن لازم نحفظ the way of answering. Whenever you study this, it will become very easy for you. شو لازم نقول؟ بتقول since all the F1 are gray, like one of the parents. So the gray allele is dominant over the white allele which is recessive. من يوم ورايح أي حدا يقول لي the gray is dominant over the white, I will cross the answer. يعني بعتبرك أنت منك مجاوب. ما في gray ما في white. في gray allele في white allele. So the gray allele is dominant over the white allele which is recessive. And here the parents are pure. You have to say that, and the white allele, it was masked in the F1 generation. It was masked by the parents. So هون عرفنا مين dominant, مين recessive. So the second question, what is the type of this cross? Yes, what is the type of this cross? The new hands and the new voices with the smart. Mahdi, what is the type of this cross? The parents are pure and they differ in only one trait. So what is the type of this cross?
But the تفكير أستاذ.
Oh, the parents, they are pure and they differ in only one trait. Yes, Yusuf.
A monohybrid cross.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you. هالقد بدها تفكير عن مهدي. هالقد بدها تفكير. The parents are pure and they differ in only one trait. So this is monohybrid cross. سيتون. Great. Great. So كمان هيك أنا عم بعمل revision. كلمات تتذكرهم. بس مش لهالدرجة. Monohybrid cross. Parents are pure and they differ in only one trait. So it's a monohybrid cross. Thank you, Yusuf. Moving now to crossing. F1 with F1. San Zaidan. Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning.
Here in the F2 generation, we cross F1 with F1, Yahsan. What do we call this cross? Testi cross. We cross F1 with F1. من اسمها يا حسين, we cross F1 with F1. ضربنا ال F1 مع حالها. So it's called a self cross يا حسين. Self cross. Whenever we cross F1 with F1. حسين زيدان ومهدي حاجو. فيقوا شوي please. فيقوا. Okay? فيقوا.
هي بعرفها استاذ.
هي بعرفها سهلة عشان هذيك المونو هايبريد صعبة. So F1 with F1, it's called a self cross. Whenever we cross two F1 individuals. أنا first step. أنا عندي F1 with F1. So I crossed gray with gray. بيجي بقول لكم أنا وقت بالكويز. We cross two F1 individuals. F1 with F1. F1 ما هي hybrid هي GW crossed with another F1 شو بيعمل لي؟ بيعمل لي تاني واحدة بيعملها GG. طب يا حبيبي ما كيف حاطط هون هيدي ال F1 GW and then you write this one as GG. هي F1 crossed with F1 يعني بتتغير تتحول it will change the genotype will change يعني بتتغير بين ليل وضحاها؟ أكيد لا. So both of them they should be what? Both of them they should be GW. اثنيناتهم GW. بس أنا سألتك هون يا I need new voices بدي صوت ميرنا. Good morning يا ميرنا. Mirna, good morning. Mirna is a silent mode. Let's move to Tala. Good morning, Tala. Can you hear me, Tala? سامعتني؟ ماشي الحال؟
بس عم يقطش الصوت شوي.
Okay, so أنا وين ask you GW إذا هيدي ال F1 this GW how many different type of gametes we will have?
Two.
Two.
G
What are
and
they?
W.
G and W. Very good. G and W. If it's percentage, it's 50-50. If it's proportion, it's half-half. Thank you, Tara.
Yes.
So here we have two different type of gamete. GW, GW, for both. And here we have G and W. If I didn't ask you if percentage or proportion, it's up to you. Or if I didn't mention in the exercise, as أنا قايل exercise, it gives me 50% gray and 50% white. شو لازم استعمل؟ لازم استعمل percentage. إذا قالت half-half, لازم استعمل proportion. If I didn't ask for, it's up to you. فيك تستعمل أو proportion أو percentage. This is up to you. This is according to what you feel free. Yani you have to feel free whenever you're working with this proportion or percentage if I didn't ask. But, يا Cynthia, if I ask you proportion وعملت percentage هلا باللاست كويز كنت كتير منيح أنا باللاست كويز وحسبتها صح لأنك حليتها صح وغيري كمان عمل هيك. But next quiz إذا أنا بطلب percentage أو بطلب proportion حدا بيعمل العكس I will cross the whole answer. يعني الانسر يعني أنا بعتبر إنه أنتم ما تكونوا عارفين شو يعني proportion أو ما إنك عارف شو يعني percentage حليتها على ذوقك. So you won't get any of the mark. يمكن بعطيك half إذا كاتب genotype والphenotype. Half over 2.5. Okay? So here about the crossing. Also, important note about the symbols. Important note about the symbols. Symbol مش دايما أنا بقول لك designate by symbol each of the corresponding alleles. Mostly أنا the symbols ما بقول لك يلا أعطيني symbols. Mostly أنا هقول لك دغري what can you deduce or give the genotypes or identify the genotypes. So whenever I said the genotypes أنت ما أعطيت symbols. Can I start and solve the exercise without giving symbols؟ أكيد لا. حتى لو انت اوريدي عارف السيمبلز وحاسبهم براسك انه والله بدي اعطي الجراي جي كابيتال وبدي اعطي الوايت دبليو سمول even though هي كثير واضحه but this means that you are not able to solve the question. ما في يبلش بارت بدون ما اكون معطي سيمبلز. اذا انا ما سالت على السيمبلز it's your job. اذا انا ما سالت على السيمبل this is your job. انت لازم تعرف مين الدوميننت مين الريسيسيف تعطي السيمبلز immediately whenever you determine the dominant and the recessive. And also pay attention to the action verbs. Whenever I say identify or specify كلهم at the rhyme of Wi-Fi we have to justify. يعني بيجي بقول لك specify the genotype of the F1. بيجي مثلا هاني بيقول لي genotype of the F1 is GW وبيخلص. بس بيقول لي genotype of the F1 is GW. اوكي كثير منيح انا قايل لك specify or identify. شو لازم اعمل؟ لازم اعمل justify بس حضرتك ما عملت justify so you won't get the full mark. انا تسهلت معكم باول 2 semesters بس سهلت مش كثير يعني كنت بسهل about شي 20% or 30% بالانسرز but from this semester ما في عاد سهل معكم. انتوا السنه الجايه طالعين جريد 12 يعني اذا for example جاوب كنت اعطيك مثلا ربع العلامه او نص العلامه from now on اذا انا طالب justify او اذا قلت لك determine مثلا وما عملت لي justification او قايل لك explain وعطيتني بس answer so from now on either you get the full mark or you didn't so you have to pay attention to this. Also related to the pedigree or any figure, or graph or table, كله should be done using a pencil. As a figure or pedigree لازم أعطيها legend, ولازم أعطيها title, ولازم أرسمها inside the box. If I didn't do so, this means that your table or your answer is missing. You won't get the mark for this. So you have to pay attention for this. So هون حكينا about the different, حكينا about the phenotype, the genotype, حكينا about the steps of the factorial analysis ذكركم فيهم. First we start with the phenotype, then we move to the genotype, then we move to the gametes, to the table of cross, and the table of results. إذا قايل لي to the verify آخر شيء بدي أقول therefore results are verified. إذا قايل لي to predict ما في داعي أقول therefore results are verified. Test the cross اللي قلناها هو individual هو genotype is unknown and individual هو homozygous and recessive. So homozygous and recessive أنا already بعرفه. بس الheterozygous ما بعرفه أو homozygous dominant. So إذا كان dominant يعطيني only one type of allele. One type of allele بيكون عندي one phenotype in the individual. So هون طلعوا كلهم 100% black. So 100% black يعني إجباري this individual لازم يكون بي بي لأن أعطاني one phenotype. بس طلع عندي two phenotypes 50% black and 50% white يعني عندي two different gametes should be inherited from the parents. And you have to be careful with this. Talking about the codominance in both allele are expressed. Talking about codominance and talking about intermediate. Intermediate dominance is the case where we have a phenotype that is intermediate and هو بالنص بين الهوموزايجس بين التو colors sorry. وانا عملنا red ووايت flower من لهم كراس عند افوان طلع عندي pink. طب قبل ما اكفي هيدي مش case dominance ولا co-dominance. هيدي intermediate dominance or بسموها incomplete dominance where we have a phenotype that is not like one of the parents, it's intermediate. So هون بيكونوا both alleles كمان dominant. So هون ال R بيكون RR هون pure. هون بيكونوا WW. So RR بيعطيني بس R. هون بيعطيني بس W. So it's RW 100%. هيدا ال RW مش معناتها هن red و white مع بعض. RW هن pink. بس عملت pink F1 with F1 بيعطوني F2. So F1 with F1 عم بعمل RW مع RW يعني عم بعمل pink مع pink. اوكي؟ So RW مع RW. بيجي بيقول لك هون بعطيك الفيجر بيقول لك اعمل لي factorial analysis. Who can tell me we're going to use percentage or proportion according to this figure? Who can tell me? We're going to use percentage or proportion according to the given in the figure. Yes, why?
Because they used percentage 25%.
Excellent, very good. So they use percentage, so you have to use percentage. So percentage it should be used. But when I استعمل proportion 1/2, 1/4, لازم استعمل proportion. So this is according to the given in the figure or in the question. So هون case both of them. Talking about the blood groups. Blood groups إذا قلنا blood group A إذا قال لي homozygous so بيكونوا AA cross مع BB. إذا كانوا heterozygous بيكون AO cross مع BO. So it depends حسب هو السؤال اللي عم يحكيني اياه. هون كمان حكينا about incomplete dominance or intermediate dominance. هون بالسناب دراجون plants نعملهم cross, two breeding, one having red flower, other having white. At least they are both capitals, capitalized, اثنيناتهم بيكونوا capital. R مع W, red مع white. So red هن homozygous and they are pure يعني. So RR cross مع WW. So gametes are 100%, W 100%, and I will repeat both of them should be capitalized. في لاحظت شغله بالكويز الماضي في حدا منكم شو عامل؟ معطي symbols بعد تاني بارتس مغير السيمبلز. سو يمكن لاحظ انه علامته ما كانت انه ما كان متوقع ياخذ فور اكزامبل 4/5 لا حاله ياخذ 2.5/5. ليش؟ لانه انت استعملت سيمبل فوق. تخيل انا بستعمل السيمبل للريد ار بقى ببارت 1 ببارت 2 بيطلع سيمبل للريد صار معه اس. كيف كنت مستعمل ار صرت مستعمل اس. طب كيف انا كيف بدي احلهم هيدا البارت؟ So here you have to pay attention to what you have to يعني الجيناتكس هو كثير critical. يعني غلطة صغيرة بتغلط السؤال كله أو غير بالسيمبل بتغير السؤال. هون عملنا cross F1 with F1. This is called a self cross. So RW مع RW عملنا phenotype, genotype, gametes, table of cross and the table of result. طلعوا RR 25%. So 25% they are red. RW 50% and 50% pink. WW 25% يعني 25% اني white. So هون اذا انا عم بشتغلها percentage. اذا بحال we ask for the proportion. So proportion كثير سهله انه نشتغلها proportion. كيف بدي اشتغلها proportion؟ Proportion is a 50% اللي 1 over 2. is a 25 هي 1 over 4. طب إذا 100 هي 1 فيك تعملها 1 over 1 كمان it works the same. Okay? هيدي هي according to the percentage or according to the proportion. So you have to pay attention to these notes because these notes are very important. Next session we're going to talk about the karyotype. I'm going to start a little bit about the karyotype. It's the arranged set of the chromosomes. In diploid, they are arranged as pairs. By the haploid, they are arranged as one in each. They are arranged according to this criteria, according to their decreasing order of size, to their position of the centromere, and according to the banding patterns. Here about the gonosomes and about the autosomes. Gonosomes and autosomes هيدي very important. لأنه next week we are going to talk about the autosomes and the gonosomes in details. شو يعني؟ يعني هقول لك for example prove that this disease is autosomal. شو يعني autosomal؟ يعني the gene of this disease is located on the autosomes. مين هن الautosomes؟ هن from chromosome pair number 1 to pair number 22. هيدي هن الautosomes. بقول لك prove that this disease is gonosomal. شو يعني gonosomal؟ يعني the gene for the disease is located on the gonosomes, on the sex chromosomes. So here, this is our job for next week. فهيدا next week هيكون شوي heavy. هنعلي those with genetics. So what are the gonosomes? They are the sex chromosome. They determine the sex of the individual, whether it's a male or female. إذا كان عنده 2X يعني XX بتكون female. إذا كان عنده X and Y, it will be a male or a boy. Autosomes ان كل الكروموسومز ما عدا السكس كروموسومز. نحن بنعرف عندي 23 بيرز. شو يعني 23 بيرز؟ يعني 23 times 2 يعني 46 different chromosomes. اذا كان عندي اياهم هيدول. So اذا كان جونوزومال رح يكون على الجونوزوم او على الاكس او على الواي or on both an X and Y. إذا كان autosomal so بيكون بس على الأوتوزوم. From chromosome number 1 to chromosome pair number 1 sorry to chromosome pair number 20. This is the notes for this session. Next session we're going to talk about the genetics. هنحكي about the chromosomal formula. هنحكي also about the abnormalities, and we're going to talk about the pedigree and other types of pedigrees and the different characteristics of the pedigree. Okay, this is for the next session. Thank you.